You know what time it is? It's mime time. Years ago, at the start of my journey to become the best version of myself, I came across a video clip of Robert Greene. You may know him. He's the author of the 48 Laws of Power and the 50th Law. In that video, he talks about an essay by this old, dead, white American guy named Ralph Waldo Emerson, and the essay is called Self-Reliance. He said it was one of the most influential things he ever read. Thanks to Greene, it's one of the most influential things I've ever read, and it still resonates deep inside my heart, mind, and soul to this day. I wouldn't be the person I am today if I hadn't read it. So last year, at one of the most epic parties I've thrown, I had the fortune of meeting someone who had this tattooed on his arm, these words, "Ne te quaesiveris extra." This is a Latin phrase meaning, do not seek outside yourself. It's the first line in that essay, Self-Reliance. I knew immediately this person had read it, and it blew my mind. Finally. It was like love at first sight. Someone who knows. That someone was Andreas Varsakopoulos. This Greek-American god came to Korea, started off as an English teacher in the countryside, to later serve on a panel in one of the most popular programs ever broadcasted on Korean TV, 비정상회담, or Abnormal Summit. We talk about his journey, the struggles and the victories, what self-reliance means to us, how doors can open for us at the right time when we apply ourselves, and realizing our purpose and potential. I hope you enjoy this episode. It was such a pleasure to talk with Andreas, the Greek god, mate. And if you find this content valuable, please subscribe and leave a review. Your feedback and support are much appreciated. Let's get it. Oh baby. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Mime Time. Today, we have a very special guest. I know him, and some of you might know him as Andreas the Greek. Andreas, welcome today. Thank you for coming, brother.
Thank you, Mime. Nice to see you. Hello, everyone. My name is Andreas Varsakopoulos. Andreas입니다. 반갑습니다.
만나서 반갑습니다. It's good to meet you. Yeah, so I want to say Happy Salah or Happy Chinese New Year. Thanks for coming in today. I actually totally forgot like today was a holiday.
Yeah, same. Driving over here, I noticed there's no cars in Sinsa. You know, and that's so unusual because this place is always packed with cars. But yeah, no traffic, which is good.
It's good. We have the whole space, the whole city to ourselves. What's your favorite Korean holiday?
I like the fact that there's so many. You know, you got your Chuseok, your Hangul-nals, you know, your Orni-nals, all that. So you get these like days, maybe once a month, where you have it off, and it's I like them all.
All the holidays, yeah,
all of them. Hangul-nal, maybe because it's just so unique. You know?
I like that a lot too. Yeah, for those of you who don't know, Hangul-nal or Hangul Day is a day celebrating the invention of Hangul, the Korean alphabet. Yeah, I think that's cool too. Yeah, there's no like
equivalent.
There's no like in Greece. Is there like a day celebrating the Greek alphabet?
No.
I think there should be though, because that's cool. Because like that's like the basis for Western language. You know,
True.
It's pretty crazy. So, speaking of Greek, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, where you grew up, and all that?
Sure. So my name is Andreas, and I grew up in Greece until I was 15 years old, and then I moved to the United States. My background, I'm half Greek and half American. My mother is from the United States. My father's from Greece. So yeah, I went to the United States for high school and then university. When I finished that, I came to Korea. And then I've been living in Korea ever since. So almost 7 years now. And that's about it.
What brought you to Korea? What made you? Why not Japan or China, Taiwan?
I just, you know, I took a Eastern history class when I was in university. And it was just a very basic class. But it was very interesting and fascinating to me. You know, just how different it was compared to our Western practices and philosophies. So I don't know, I was just fascinated with the East. I loved traveling. So I looked into different ways I could kind of go to the East. And teaching English was the best option in all three countries. So then I find what's the best way to teach English. So I found Korea to have the best, essentially, contract that offered, and enough time to travel to the other countries, enough payment to kind of live comfortably. So that's how it started. But I didn't come to Seoul. I lived in Cheongju, a small city. I was hoping to be Seoul, but it was just too saturated with white guys already teaching English. So they stuck me in Cheongju, which was a blessing in disguise, because living in that little city, it forced me to interact with Korean people. It forced me to learn the language, and I wouldn't change a thing about it. I lived there for 4 years. And then afterwards, I moved up to Seoul after that. So, yeah, that was my little adventure.
Yeah. That's great. And then, so for 4 years, you lived in Cheongju.
Yeah, for 4 years, I lived there teaching English. And then the show started when I did Pisun Hwetam.
Oh, the show. Would you tell us a little bit about that show? How'd you come across that opportunity?
So, about the second year that I was here, there was a wave of, and it sounds like a little strange maybe for our foreign audience, but it was a wave of popularity of just foreigners being able to speak Korean and talk about just topics. And it was a wave of, especially because the main audiences for television networks, the best audiences are females in their 20s to 30s, because they are also the best consumers. So who do women want to watch? They don't want to watch other women. They want to see guys. So there was a very popular program called 비정상 회담, which means Abnormal Summit. And it was basically 10 white guys, no, actually 10 foreign guys, because there was also a Japanese and Chinese guy in there. And I probably shouldn't throw out white and
no, say whatever you want, like you're here, you're cool. It's like I think it's funny, so say it as much as you want.
So I'll try to be political. So it was foreign people, but it was guys. It was all guys. That was the caveat. And I noticed, when that first season went out, it was extremely popular. Everybody watched it. And people, when I was living in Cheongju, they told me, Andreas, you can speak Korean decently. You should give it a shot.
Oh, is that how it happened? Some like colleagues or like other neighbors, they're like, hey, you should be on that show.
Yeah, and but my Korean was poor. Okay. It was very bad because I only lived there a year and a half. It wasn't horrible. I could hold the very basics of a conversation, but man, I don't know. The feedback that the people were giving me made me think, you know what, Andreas? Hell yeah, I can do this. So I went to the website, to the show's website. I found the different links. I saw what I needed to do to apply, created a little video introduction, did all that, sent in my application. Didn't hear from them. And I was like, okay, that's natural. 6 months later, though, I got a phone call, and they're saying, we're opening up for auditions. Do you want to come up? And I was like, yes. Where?
Is this for what? The second season?
Yes, the second season. And this was in Seoul, of course. So I still remember. And while I was teaching, I needed to follow the schedule of the teaching and make sure that I don't cut classes. So they say, Andreas, can you come up on a Tuesday, afternoon?
Yeah, you have a full-time job.
Yeah. I'm like, can we push it to Tuesday evening? So I remember the moment I would finish, I'd just have to bolt, go to my home, get ready, go to the bus, take the bus, go to the bus station. From the bus station, take the Shie bus terminal and go all the way to Nambu bus terminal. From Nambu bus terminal, take Samboson, and from Samboson you go up to Oljiro Saga, Karatago. You take the other subway and go all the way. Because it was in Ilsan.
Ilsan, oh man, that's like not even Seoul. That's like you go from Cheongju. Remind me, is it east of Seoul?
It's southeast.
Yeah. Southeast, yeah, in the other part of the country.
So it would take me about 3.5 hours, just one way. 3.5 hours to get there, and
to not even in the heart of Seoul. He has to go like through like past Seoul into the northwestern part.
Yeah.
Wow. What was that like? You must have been excited though.
I was
like
excited, of course.
I was like, is this happening? Like,
yeah, exactly. At the time, I was like, okay, yeah, no problem. I can handle this. Now, here's the issue. You do that one time, and then, I went for my interview. The interview was a disaster. Absolute disaster. Because I still remember it was the first time that I interviewed with someone. Usually when you interview, it's just you and the interviewee, but this time there was also a Russian guy also interviewing. And the Russian guy could speak fluent Korean. I mean, fantastic fluent Korean. And while we're in there, the producers and the writers, it's in like a rectangle table, very small room, and we're sitting around the table. And the producers and the writer, I come in and I'm just all smiling and hi, 안녕하세요. I'm nervous, but still trying to smile. They didn't even crack. They was just, yeah, 안녕하세요. Yeah, 안녕하세요. Very cold, business, professional. And I understand why they did it that way, but I got even more nervous. But anyway, I was sitting there and they were asking us questions. And some of the questions they were asked was, this show was not only just like briefly introduce yourself and talk about yourself. This was, could you explain your country's social issues, cultural issues, historical issues? And for Greece, a big thing was economic issues. Because this was right around 2013, 2014, where the Greece was going through another bailout.
Right.
With the IMF, they were negotiating terms. So they were expecting me to explain the whole processes of the circumstances.
Okay, so you can't. It's not just what we call in Asia a white monkey job.
No,
it's like they're like, do you have some knowledge? Like, because they're looking for us that you can talk about it.
Right. Now this to frame it correctly, I will still say it's a white monkey job, so our audience can get the idea. However,
we'll get into that. Yeah,
it's like the golden position, the
golden white monkey,
golden white monkey, the white gold monkey.
It really is because for my mostly Western English speaking audience, if you don't know, 비정 상회담, Abnormal Summit was like one of the biggest TV shows featuring non-Korean people. And like I go to America and meet Korean people and they've seen that show. So yeah, the golden white monkey job. Okay, so please continue. The first interview, it was a disaster.
Yeah. So the Russian guy was speaking fluently and he was throwing stuff at me like jokes, trying to be entertaining, but I just couldn't understand what he was saying. So I just nodded away and I just remember that, I don't know what they're saying, but I shouldn't pretend to know what they're saying because that'll make it worse. So I was just trying to be as honest as I could. And because I couldn't communicate with words, I said, I got to use whatever I can. So I just was communicating with my gestures, with my eyes, my eyebrows, and just sound effects, just everything but, the Korean that I didn't have. And I think, and I'll never forget this. They asked some questions I couldn't answer, and then the Russian guy says, "그것도 몰라요?" I mean, he literally said, "그것도 몰라요? You don't even know that?" 이 친구는 안 됐네. 이렇게 했어. 진짜 얄밉게.
He's talking smack.
Yeah, he's just talking very. And at the time I said, "Just be cool, be cool." We get out of the interview. They say, "Oh, thank you." We get out, and I remember taking the elevator, and the guy says. He looks at me and says, "You did great, man. You did great."
Was that snarky, condescending, or you think he really meant it?
That's a good question. I don't know. I don't think he was being snarky, but come on, man. Obviously, I did not do good. You cannot tell somebody so blatantly that he did a good job. I mean, it was it wasn't snarky, but it wasn't genuine either.
Okay,
right?
Somewhere in the middle.
So anyway, we get out, and I didn't even look at the guy. I said 2 words to him. Yeah. I didn't even say you too. I was like, yeah. Walk out, we leave. And then I go to the coffee shop just to relax, just to put the piece together. I'm like, wow, what just happened? And I get a phone call, and it's the head writer.
It's like 5-10 minutes after you leave?
Finished, yeah. And it's the writer, and she says, Andreas, where are you right now? Our head PD just came in. Can you come back here? And I said, I'm in the elevator right now. I'll come back right now.
You weren't in the elevator. You
No,
were in
I
the
wasn't.
cafe
I wasn't.
door.
I was in the cafe. I just wanted to tell him, yes, I'm there.
Okay.
And so I ran back, went upstairs, and the head writer, I think she saw something in me. She saw some kind of potential, maybe something that I didn't even see myself. But she was very adamant of showing the PD Neem, the producer, check this guy out. Look at this guy, and that kind of I sensed that, and it kind of gave me more confidence to just I think I can just be myself, and that might be enough. I don't have to be something that I'm not. So that's what it was, and they saw. I think naturally, I've got. Well, Korea they say nunchi.
Yes.
In English, that's kind of wittiness kind of thing in the situation, like quick improv, quick on your feet.
Yes, being quick witted. Actually, I'd like to explain this concept a bit, because as I know it, this is how I think about it. Nun in Korean means eyes, and chi is this is just how I remember it. Chi is like chi, like tai chi, like energy. So I don't actually know if this is etymologically on the spot on correct or at all, but that's how I remember. You have vision, perception, and then your sense of perception is you can feel energy or chi in any given environment. And with that nunchi, with that wit and that awareness, situational awareness, you make the right moves. You pull out the chair for this person, or you say and do the right things that have you can come across sophisticated. Anything that makes you sophisticated, or like a gentleman or lady, other people.
That's pretty accurate.
Yeah, wouldn't you? Yeah. So you had your nunchi on full point. You're you're feeling good. You feel you got some confidence.
I think
talking to the PD, the producer.
Yeah. Just when and this is interesting. When I try to be somebody that I'm not, and I try to either to impress or to show a side of me that's not genuine, is when I have the least amount of nunchi. When I'm least amount of flexible with my speech and my reactions. But when I'm just myself and kind of don't give a shit, for lack of better words, it's when I'm the quickest, the most entertaining, and just the most genuine. So it took me a while to really get to that level. Of course, in that interview room, I felt it, I understood it. But then when it came time for the first show, I was so nervous, terrified, and I wanted.
Oh, okay. So how did the meeting with the PD go? So they said, "Can you come back?" And the head PD just came in.
So the PD asked me some questions. Andreas, what are your hobbies? What do you do? Do you have any? 무슨 끼가 있어요? They always ask, do you have any kind of talent? And that kind of bugged me out because I'm like, geez, I don't think I really do. I work out. I'm good at listening and talking with people, but that's not really a talent you can put on television. I'm good at impersonating stuff. I told them I can do 성대모사 할 수, I can what do you say? Yeah, imitate people, imitate how they speak, etc. But doing that in Korean is hard. So I didn't really have a lot of talents that could be workable on television. I think that's what they were looking for. Is what kind of character can we develop from this guy? But I think it was, I think they saw, and honestly, at the end of the day, the reason why there was actually, I'm sorry, I should say there was a whole nother interview process and a whole other thing before I actually got selected to go on the show.
Sure.
And that was an ordeal of itself, but I'm going to skip through that. But ultimately, I can say now with confidence that the only reason that they accepted me on that show is because Korea, and our audience might well be aware of this, is a very 외모지상주의, very superficial, emphasize appearance very much on all fields. Everything is important, especially television. And I think ultimately the real reason I got the position is because I look different enough, but at the same time attractive enough for what they wanted. You know, I'm not too push-offish, but I'm not too normal. And
yeah, if you're listening to this right now and not watching it on YouTube, Andreas is a handsome dude. Oh, baby.
It worked to my advantage, and I would be a naive or ignorant to not be conscious of that fact. You know, because I was not on there for my language. Other people were there because of their language skills. They were there because of some kind of experience or talents that they had. But for me, it was kind of like the lottery, you know. And I would be a fool to think that I was on the show because I speak good Korean or because I'm a funny guy. I was on the show because of what I was born with, and I know it's unfair in one regard, but I'm at the end of the day, I can't do anything about it. I'm just really grateful.
You were in the right place in the right time.
Yeah.
And from you brought yourself to Korea for a reason. You put yourself in an environment that's like literally other side of the world from America, to come to a foreign country, trying to learn the language, work and live there. And then like these opportunities came to you because you made that conscious decision to come to the country first. So you put yourself in the right place and the right time, arguably. Yeah. Yeah. And it's also like very humbling to see that, you know, you are self-aware that, yeah, you were just in the right place and the right time.
Yeah.
And also it's amazing to see like how far you must have grown since the first time you went on Abnormal Summit, Pyeongchang till now. Like, how's your life been from the time you went into broadcasting, going on TV? What's it like? You know, what's it been like?
Man, so many expectations that you have before you actually do any kind of project or any kind of venture, and then while you're in it, you know, there's so many thoughts and emotions that it's difficult to process. And then after the fact, then you kind of also you can kind of reflect on what those experiences were, what they meant to you, how you reacted, how you overreacted, kind of things. And for me, that was what it was. In the moment, I was just stressed, very, very stressed, and very taptape, like stifled, because I couldn't really express what I wanted to say. I think naturally, for me, I love having a good time, laughing and making people laugh. I wouldn't say I'm a really funny guy, but at the same time, I like making people laugh. And not being able to do that with the same flexibility that I can do using English or Greek, it was just a stifling thing. And I remember at the time I was with my girlfriend, my ex-girlfriend, and she was so supportive the entire time. And no matter how hard it got and how down I was, especially when we're preparing for the show, I would be so aggravated, and I would release it on her. You know, she received the butt end of just all the hardships. She was kind of my release because I had nobody else. But yet she stuck through it, and she was there. I mean, she was just a rock for me, and it was a very memorable experience, and I'll never forget that you got to treat people well no matter what, even if you think at that moment you take precedence over that, you know, that you require kind of some kind of priority. You are the priority. But even then, if you do not treat people well, it's going to leave a very bad taste in your mouth, and it's not going to feel good later on. And any kind of success or award that you receive from the venture is going to lose some value, because if you put down the people that are closest to you or that want to see you succeed the most, then what the hell are you doing in the first place? That's kind of how I think about it.
Yeah, because I would assume that part of your motivation or reason to succeed is to share the success and share those joys with the people you care about.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's hard to remember that when it's like at 1 a.m., you got to wake up 5:45 to catch the bus the next morning. And you're thinking, God, I don't want to go another 3.5 hours running through traffic in the cold. It's, -10 outside.
What, were you running from Cheongju to to the studio?
I would have to go to Cheongju to studio.
Like you were still like living there. Were you working a full-time job? Or
Yeah.
You're still You're still working on a full-time job.
Yeah.
Teaching English and then running to be.
So the recordings were every Sunday, but then we would also have some kind of hengsas, like events on Saturdays, and because I was just financially. By the way, maybe if our audience is curious about this, like was this a financially lucrative venture? And the answer is no. You know, as a
It's
newbie,
good that you're sharing this. Yes.
Yeah, as a newbie with no experience, they pay you basically enough to cover your expenses, your travel expenses, eating. I mean, think of it as really a part-time. I would probably say like $20 an hour based on all the work that I would do. I'd probably got around $20 an hour, and dollars, maybe $20 an hour. You would imagine it's a lot more than that, but you got to also remember that if it's transferable, you know, this $20 an hour now, does that mean that it guarantees me $10 an hour later on? And that's not the case, because in the entertainment industry, you blow up and then you blow down. You know, you explode.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to ask you about.
You get your 5 minutes of fame and then you disappear. So you got to make sure you get as much as possible during that time. And for us, it wasn't the case. For some of the other members on the show, they had more experience. They had more of a market value. They're more valuable, so they could command a higher salary.
Mm-hmm.
But
that wasn't you.
No, it wasn't me. Based on my popularity, my language skill, and all that. So I'd have to go to Seoul sometimes 3 times a week. I had Wednesday afternoons were my lightest schedule, so I'd have to, once I finished school, I would run up to take the bus, do the work, whatever work I had to do on Wednesdays. Sometimes just very fruitless meetings too, you know. Small things, because if you live in Seoul, it's very easy to say, hey man, you want to meet for an hour here? Yeah, let's do it. But if you live in Cheongju, you have to calculate, you know, okay, yeah, but I have to drive all the way there, and I didn't want to sacrifice any opportunity.
Right. You didn't. I would have done the same thing. You're just like, this is like every single opportunity I get I have to maximize it. And then there's gonna be those times when you meet someone or there's a meeting and it just, what value did you get out of it?
What's the value? Right. So I became a little bit calculating with my relationships as well. You know, thinking about, okay, what is this? Who is this person, and what can I get from this relationship? And I didn't like that part. That created, there was some disillusionment from that process. The entertainment industry is, you become a little bit more calculated with who you talk to, why you talk to them. I was also it was very difficult for me, because once you start getting recognized out in the public, you, especially in Korea, you have to be conscious of how you act out in the public.
Oh, yeah.
You know, you can't be yourself. I like to goof off. I like to get drunk. You know, I like to enjoy myself.
I do too. Yeah. I also like the alcohols. I like getting drunk too, and because I'm human. Like, it's fun. I enjoy it. But, you know, if you're a TV personality, it's like, you don't want people to see you that way. So that must be annoying.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't care, but my girlfriend, being from a Korean background, she would always say, Andreas, no. Because there are some pressures. You know, they have such much higher expectations, because they give you all this attention, and they give you all this recognition. In return, they want you to maintain a moral standard that is above average, right? Because they give you above average attention and authority, essentially, credibility.
Wow. Like, you know, I have so many more questions for you. What was, I imagine, like, just putting in the hours and then traveling was the hardest part of like working during that time period. But what for you, like, you know, being in broadcasting, working, and then dealing with meeting people who recognize you on the street, like after, you know, you were just an English teacher before, but then after you start getting recognition, what do you think was like, what's like the most annoying thing?
Annoying thing?
Yeah. Annoying or frustrating thing?
Frustrating thing about the recognition part, you're asking?
Yes.
I think it would be...
And then also in general in your career, like working with in Korean media.
So...
But the first question being like recognition.
it would be the kashik, it would be the fakeness that you have to put on, like the front. And I'm really not good at faking stuff. I don't have a good poker face, but you have to be diplomatic in that sense, where even if you're tired, even if you're hungry, you have to greet people as if you are enjoying the experience as well. And that in Korean is a 가식적으로 인사하는 거, or just 가식. And in English, I think it's just called like fakeness, or that duality was very hard for me, because it's hard for me to just put a smile on like that, even when I'm not, I'm dying inside. And that was the hard part. I think still to this day, that's still the hardest part for me, is pretending to enjoy what I don't enjoy. And the best celebrities out there, they can do that day in and day out. And I have a lot of respect for people who can do that.
Or what I'm thinking about this. What if like someone comes to like, hey, you're Andreas. Oh, 안녕하세요. 저 팬이에요, or something like that. And let's say you're really tired or you had a rough day. Like what? Do you put on the fake smile, or you're just like, hi? It's like, hi, thank you for saying hi. I'm really tired. I have to go now. Like, have a great day. You ever do like that? Because I feel like people can understand. I think even people who are like superficial, or they have this expectation of you. Maybe they're annoying and they want to take a picture, and they're not considerate of you. Like, do you ever feel like you can be like kind of authentic? Like it's like, hi, thank you for saying hi. I'm really tired. I have to go.
Yes, sometimes I would resort to that, but it's. It's hard too, because they are very polite. They're not very obtrusive.
Okay.
And in return, I want to return that. I want to return that too, even as tired as I am. And
that's hard.
Yeah. So, 예, 감사합니다. 아닙니다. 아니야. 예, 괜찮아요. 사진 찍어도 돼요? 네, 괜찮아요.
Can I take a picture?
Let me take a picture. Sometimes it's not the most opportune moment, when you're riding the subway, because then it gets a little bit awkward, because people see you take pictures and they don't
Has that ever happened in a subway car? Like people everyone wants to, I want to take a picture too.
No, I mean, the worst is when somebody recognizes you because they're a fan, but then other people see that they took a picture. They don't know who you are. They just want to take a picture with you because somebody else took a picture with you. And, that's like, come on, man. You honestly, what is this picture going to do for you? I mean, you don't know who I am. But so that's happened a couple times, and I'm sad to say that I lost my cool. Sometimes I would say, 근데 저 누군지 아세요? And 몰라요. 그래서 왜 사진 찍고 싶으세요?
Do you even know who I am? No. Why are you taking a picture?
Why do you want to take a picture with me? 그냥. And then I would just take the picture. So ultimately, even my ment was completely useless. That I just put out negative energy for no reason. So I think I learned that. I don't know. I think you learn. This just maybe comes with getting older. You just learn You learn how to deal with people in a way that makes you come out the winner. Because sometimes you have to lose the battle to win the war.
Ooh, sometimes you have to lose the battle to win the war. Okay.
So sometimes you just have to suck your pride in, or suck in any kind of thing, and then ultimately you come out the winner out of the situation, and that's better than coming out as a loser from the situation.
Yes, you have to be strong. So after 비정상회담 ended, after the show ended, I asked you what was the hardest part about working on the show?
Working on the show, there were many big personalities on the show, so it was hard for me to stand out. I think that my type of character, when I'm with a group of friends, usually. This is just me, that I like having the attention of the group. I like kind of being the center of attention. And it was difficult for me not being the center of attention. I don't know if that makes any sense.
I think that makes sense.
Yeah. So in that group, even when I was on my soccer team, I was like, okay, I gotta be the best player. When I gotta be the best. But this was like the first time in my life where I was not the one excelling. I was the one who had to give the assists. And this was a new experience for me, learning, that you can't be the rock star every time. You can't be the main alpha guy all the time. On
public TV, no less, where like millions of people are watching you. I think that's a lot of pressure. That must have been humbling.
Yes, very difficult at first, because you remember, this kind of goes against my instinct. Like, okay, now's my time to shine. I can work it. I can do this. But you have to accept the fact that you can't work it. That there is somebody better than you, and you're looking right on across the desk. You can see that guy. That's the person who's going to score the goal, not you. And it made me realize how selfish I was and how selfish I really am, because I want kind of the glory of it. But like I said earlier, you got to lose the battle to win the war, and that's what it was. If you make a little sacrifice here, your team wins, and when your team wins, you're the winner, right? So that helped me a lot in other aspects of my life as well, with other friendships as well. It made me realize that I was quite greedy with people's company and trying to always be the center. And I remember still even to this day, I do it sometimes. I get a little frustrated when I'm not the center of attention. So these are things about my character that I always try to improve on and try to fix. Ultimately, we all have our flaws, but I guess it's how do you deal with these and how do you learn from them?
What was your biggest takeaway, or like the most rewarding part after like all the broadcasting was done for that show? Like, what's been the most rewarding thing, or the coolest thing that you got out of it?
I think the coolest thing has been the recognition. It's opened up so many doors, that were previously, I didn't even know, not locked. These doors, I didn't even know these doors were even existed, and let alone locked. So it opened up a lot of new opportunities, new people to meet. It's it changed my life completely. It made me stay in Korea. I don't think I would have stayed if that wouldn't have happened. Maybe I wanted to continue traveling, but the success of that show and the opportunities that came after that were very rewarding, and they're just rewarding, and it made me enjoy the process more, and it made me understand, maybe meet a lot of new people that I was very fortunate to meet.
You can still travel, and Koreans abroad will recognize who you are.
Yeah, sometimes it happens. Yeah.
Wow, well, that sounds awesome. And then since then, you mentioned these doors appearing. What opportunities have you been pursuing? What's been your projects?
Well, for the past, ever since the show stopped, I would go around giving specific, like at Hengsas, like a tukgang, like special lectures. But most importantly, the biggest thing for me is that it's giving me a platform to kind of explain and introduce Greece to people.
Oh wow! Because you've become unofficially the ambassador,
right?
Yeah. Shout out to the actual Greek ambassador.
Yeah.
Do you know that? Do you know the Greek ambassador?
Yes.
Okay.
She's a very nice lady.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So, and how has that been explaining to Korea the history or culture of Greece, modern and?
It's been great, and I have to say here, there's an asterisk, because not unlike, but Greece is unique in the fact that there are very few countries that will receive a Greek person in a negative light. Like we don't have any specific negative experiences from people. We usually have our history and our historical culture and our influence on Western society.
World renowned.
Right? It's world renowned, and people have this beautiful image already going into it. So I'm very fortunate that people have this positive perception of Greece. So my job is kind of easy. But there's other people, like for example, my Nepalese friend who was on the show. You know, he's got an uphill battle because people have these negative perceptions about them. Because usually, I don't know, some immigrants, they come in here, they work in the labor sector, so they have, I don't know, they're perceived in a certain way. They're perceived as a third world, or
yes.
So they have these perceptions, and for him, it's kind of like an uphill battle. But for me, it was a lot easier. People were willing to lend an ear, right, as opposed to. If somebody from my Vietnamese friend or my Thai friend, my Malaysian friend, you know, they have some kind of preconceived prejudices or notions about them. So I was again fortunate in that regard as well, and it's rewarding when I can teach them about Greek cooking. I can teach them more than just Santorini, about Greek travel. And that's very fun for me. I really like talking about Greece and sharing pieces of our cuisine, our cultural history, because I think there's a lot to be learned from that. The positive, of course. The negative, I always leave out the negatives. You know, I try to leave as much negatives as possible, but I do also, of course, show, or at least show in a respectful manner that it's not all sunshine in Greece, that there are some rainy clouds as well.
Right. Wow. Like what an awesome experience to be able to share with, you know, with people in Asia, with Korean people, like your own culture and background. That's super cool, dude. And now what are you doing?
So right now, I'm kind of doing a bunch of stuff, but I'm working at Hanyang University, and I teach public speaking at Hanyang University, and I do that part-time, and then the rest of the time, I work on other shows. Right now, for talk shows, I do Daehan Wegukin, and starting next week, I'm actually filming my first sitcom. So it's going to be my first acting gig. And before that, I also do personal training. So I have a few clients that I work with for personal training, give them diet plans and workout routines.
Oh, okay, your clientele, however many there are, like, are they getting it from you because, you know, they know that you can get them into shape, or because like, oh, I just want to train with like a celebrity?
Both.
Maybe it's both. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand that.
Yeah. And
leverage yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, I have some guys who really want to get trained and really have very specific goals. But then I also have older gentlemen that just want somebody to work out with. And that's fun for me too, as well. You know, because there's a lot to give and take from that relationship. Yeah.
That's super cool, man. So, audience, the first time I met Andreas was at this pool party, this epic pool party I threw. Hosted by Stellar Antics. And that was such a great party, and I met Andreas through a mutual friend, and I saw on his beautiful, he's a Greek god. He really is a Greek god, like an Adonis, by the way. No. First time I was like, who is this Greek god? Oh, he actually is Greek. On his arm, there was a tattoo in Latin, and it said "Ne quaesiveris extra."
Ne te quaesiveris extra.
Yeah. Your pronunciation is more on point. And it means do not look outside yourself.
Correct.
Is that right?
Yeah.
And I said, I looked at Andreas. I was like, oh, I know that quote. And
this was the first time.
The first time we met.
In 10 years that I had this tattoo, people ask me all the time, "What does it mean? What does it mean?" But this was the first time in 10 years. Mame comes up to me and says, "Oh, I know that." And I'm like, "Yeah, sure you do, buddy." And he says, "Do not search outside yourself." I'm like, "Oh my God."
That's why you got the tattoo. You got the tattoo. So for 10 years, finally, we could meet. You know?
And he told me, and he knew exactly, this is the first line of Self-Reliance by Ralph Waldo Emerson. And I'm like, oh man, this is special. Me and you.
Yeah, he was like, "Did we just become best friends?" and then I never saw him since then. Actually, this is like the second time we've ever met. But I was like, "Wow, that is special. I need to keep in touch with this guy because that is the first line of Self-Reliance, which is an essay by Ralph Waldo Emerson." And I found that essay because years ago when I came to Korea and I started reading books and getting into self-development, making my life better, I watched a couple of videos from Robert Greene, who wrote The 48 Laws of Power and Mastery. And he mentioned in one of his videos that he had read Self-Reliance like 15, 16 times or whatever. He read it and memorized it and that. And I thought, okay, well, if Robert Greene who wrote The 48 Laws of Power, well, you can look him up. He's super big. Well, then I should read that too. And I love that essay, and I fell in love with Ralph Waldo Emerson. And even in moments when life is really hard, or when I feel like I don't know what to do, or like after a long day of work, just killing it, and then before I pass out, I sometimes imagine Ralph Waldo Emerson, like the ghost of Ralph Waldo Emerson, along with other like figures who have been influential in my life, just saying how proud they are of me, I can imagine Ralph Waldo Emerson like encouraging me like through his words and like his spirit and stuff like that. It's kind of woo-woo stuff, but that means a lot to me. Yeah. And so Ralph Waldo Emerson, who is like, quintessential American author from the 1800s. Yeah. Like so American. So his philosophy is like transcendentalism, but basically in his essay Self-Reliance, he talks about like how each entity, each animal, and each individual must draw strength from within, not just do what everyone else does, but do what you want and to speak your own voice, which is part of why I'm doing this podcast and this show, Mime Time. It's because I knew deep down inside since I was a kid that I could be strong and brave and independent, and I could be free. And that could only come from relying on myself, trusting myself, taking action each and every day to somehow improve myself. And that's what I've been doing since I read that essay and moved to Korea 7 years ago. When did you first read that essay?
It was instrumental, I think, in my development as well, because it was during high school. And I was introduced to it through a course on American literature. And if our audience has this text is free online. So, and it's usually, I think maybe 24 pages or less. Maybe
I think it's 16. I think it's 16.
Yeah, it depends on what kind of format you get it.
PDF.
16, very, you imagine, piece of cake. It will take you 2 months at least to read it because every paragraph is just loaded. The language is so precise that it's a very efficiently describes specific feelings that I think humans have and thoughts. Specifically, I had at that time about identity, expression, how to express yourself, and more than anything, authenticity. And that was something for me very difficult because when you're an adolescent and you kind of don't really know what you like yet, you explore what you like, and it's easy to fall into somebody else's preferences. If that guy likes doing that, okay, let me just give it a shot, and you don't really think about it. You just do it. You end up doing it, and then you don't really consider: do I actually like what this is? Is this what I'm meant to do? And that text was a manual to how to dissect your actions and how to effectively analyze your actions and analyze yourself. And that's what it was for me, that it gave me kind of credibility. It was a voice, a very strong voice that was saying, Andreas, you can trust yourself. And if your instincts tell you that this is a bad idea, then in that case, not probably, it is a bad idea. If it's enough for you to feel it and to react to it, then in it of itself, it has a validity that is worth executing.
Yes, and you should value your heart, like the vibrations of your heart, and your own thoughts, you should think that that is more important than some famous author or whatever, or this guy. I mean, forget what this celebrity thinks, what mime thinks. Like, this is more important to me because it is my thought.
Yeah. And for me, especially, it was relationships, you know. It was difficult for me. I had a hard time talking to girls from the United States because that time I grew up with Greek girls and then meeting USA girls. I had a hard time expressing myself because I would often be disingenuous. I would think, oh man, my thoughts right now, I should probably hide these thoughts, or I should probably hide what I really want to say in case I might push them away, or I might make them, they might think I'm like this, you know. And doing that, I was I think evidence to the world that I wasn't ready to show myself, and I was not comfortable in my own skin, kind of thing. And ultimately, that's destructive. At one point in your life, I think everybody has to come to the conclusion that the thoughts that you have are there for reasons. They exist legitimately, and it's up to you to express them in a genuine manner. You know, that is the process of, I think, just communication in general. Is how well can you express yourself? Because what you have inside you, I mean, it is there, it exists. Now, how do you express that? Are you going to go sly about it? Are you going to cut it around? Are you going to try to push it down? All those things are very obvious to people, and we think that it's not obvious, but I think it is.
Because there are so many, maybe you have thoughts or ideas and you're afraid of saying them because of what your mother, father, brother, sister will think, what your neighbors will think. It's like, I really like this, or, you know what, like, I don't think that this is right for me. Like, I don't want to, you know, go into law school or something like that. But because my parents push me, you know, this is just an example. Like, I don't want to disappoint them. Or if I speak honestly on this and that, people will misunderstand me. But the thing is, like, no matter what in life, like, you will, you know, we're human. Like, I have and probably will again disappoint some people around me. But then the one beautiful point in Self-Reliance is that a character is like an acrostic. It reads forwards and backwards, up and down, and the journey of a single ship, a single voyage, like, it's like a, how do you say it? It's like a journey of a single ship is like 100 tic-tacs, like on a map. It's like zigzag. Yeah. It zigzags. But then when you zoom out on the map, it straightens itself out to the average tendency, something like that. So then you may make a mistake. I may make a mistake. Like, I might be, like, for example, the second time we were supposed to meet after I met Andreas, I messed up and I slept past my alarm. He, as a gentleman, you know, showed up early to, like, the in my neighborhood. You know, we were going to get some coffee and talk, but, you know, I could feel that I think he got upset, and then he left early, and I felt so bad because, one, I never do that, and I was like, oh man, like, you know, I hate wasting other people's time because I want to be a gentleman. I wanted to respect his time, but at that time I was just like, okay, but normally, like, if that was like several years ago, I would have spent like all day, like maybe even weeks, just being like spending that mental energy, like, oh, like, I messed up, like, I'm so dumb, like, how can I make that mistake, like, and I would have, in the past, I would have wasted a lot of mental energy, but I was like, you know what, it's okay. I did make this mistake. It wasn't cool, but I will make sure this doesn't happen again with this friend, and I'm going to make up for it because I know that I am an awesome person who has a lot of value to provide. So someone might be upset by what I do. I can apologize, and I know that I can make up with it just by the nature of my character.
Right. And it's, you know, similarly, I think if it was years back, I would take it as, man, this guy's wasting my time. He wasted my time. But then after I realized, I mean, it happens. Stuff happens. And, you know, I took it as, okay, we're just not going to it wasn't meant to be to meet today. So I went home too. He explained himself. Of course, I was a little upset, but then I realized, okay, this guy works at night. This is what he does. He works at night. So it's natural that he slept through his alarm. So If I blame him, then how does this benefit me? How does it benefit him? So the way that I saw it too is just water under the bridge, move on. Let's see what the next step is. That's kind of how I thought about it too. So yeah.
Yes, but wow, like everything makes also like today. You've shared the story of like your adventure, like how you came to Korea, and then how you became in English from an English teacher in the countryside to being on like one of the most televised shows in Korean media, in Korean history, and then like all the opportunities that come from that. It seems to me self-evident that like your spirit of self-reliance has carried you this far. Would you say that's true?
I like to think that. I like to think that. Yeah.
I feel that every day. I feel like I because most of my life I grew up with very low self-esteem, and I was like depressed, and at my darkest moments even suicidal. But I knew deep down inside, deep down like in my heart, mind, and balls that there was that I could be strong, that I didn't need other people to really validate me. Of course, we're all human. We like human connection, and we help each other out, and businesses help each other out. They cooperate. We all collaborate as we are now. But it's best when it comes with when all the parties involved also have strength and rely on themselves. So for me, also growing up like very, very lonely, growing up like thinking in different parts of America, being the only Asian kid, always feeling that outsider. Looking back, I realized all those harsh moments when some kids called me chink, or go back to China, or when I grew up and kids made fun of me because I was fat. I look back at all those things and I thought, like, this was kind of preparing me to become like a more compassionate, humble person. And actually, I needed to go through all these painful things, and also like move from place to place. I moved around a lot when I was a kid throughout the States, and to always like have new friends or like have to meet new communities, I resented it. Like I hated my parents for making us move. So, but I was always that like only Asian kid moving. Like I felt like I had no place that was like really my home. And so I didn't have like a sense of security. But looking back, I'm so grateful for that experience, because it was like maybe around the 4th or 5th grade when I was moving for, I don't know, the umpteenth time, that I kind of realized, you know what, like, I don't know how much the rest of my life, I was like 11 or 12 or something, and I kind of had this general realization. It's like maybe like the next 5 or 10 years, like I'll just keep moving, and I have no control over it. I have no control over like where I'm going to live at the end of this year. So what can I do? And then before, like I would like stay away from people. I would be like very, I would be like that kid, that black sheep in the corner, like the kid who's always sad or angry all the time. Like, if you could talk to my teachers and they could remember who I was, they would say, yeah, like mine was a very angry or like, depressed kid. I had my moments as joy and child. It wasn't all crap, but there was a point when something flipped, and I thought, instead of pushing other people away and resenting, interacting with people, I think I turned and I started being friendly and wanting to spend as much time with people, because what happened was I was like, okay, instead of being like, I'm not going to talk to you because I'm going to move anyways, and like you're not going to matter to me anymore. Like, what's the point? Oh, what's the point of life? Oh, like all this is going to go away anyways. Why even settle down my roots if I'm going to be torn from my roots, But then there was a point where like, well, I won't have a home. I don't know when I'm going to settle. So if I got bored. I got bored of like kind of like feeling sorry for myself. I got bored. So then there was a mental switch where I was just like, well, because I don't know when I'll see you again, I want to be your friend. I want to connect with you as fast as I can. I want to make meaning of this short time that we have together. And I think that, and that only happened as a result of like me turning like my suffering of loneliness and like not wanting to move as a kid, which was very traumatic for me. I was able to leverage that and then turn into the guy who can go into any social situation in the States. And now I can go anywhere in the world, in Korea, in my native homeland, and I can meet anybody. And I became now like I was like the loneliest loner wangta outsider growing up in my view. And now, like, I host awesome parties where, the TV personalities, like you come by, and I just think, wow, my life is such a dream, and all the negative energy and all the things I went through, like, it was worth it just to be sitting here right now, talking on a microphone, looking in the camera, and hang out with you. Like, I feel like this is completely genuine. Like, I feel like this is destiny, bro. I know this is really cheesy, but I love my life, and I love people so much, and life has humbled me so much, and I really want to live every day like with complete gratitude, and I want to be my strongest version. And so each year since I've moved to Korea, each year I've grown. I've been making more money. I've been spending more quality time with even more amazing people, and it just gets better and better. Like, my life is like a dream. So,
and being able to appreciate that and not always look up at what you don't have and always look up at what you want, but being able to take the time and really appreciate what you do have and where you've come, that in and of itself is a necessary process to experiencing happiness, to experiencing satisfaction. And it's an active process. It's not a passive one. You just can't think to yourself, oh yeah, life is good. You gotta, for me, every time I write in my journal, I'm always just grateful. I'm like, wow, I've got warm water. I can take a warm, hot shower whenever I want to. I can go to the Pyeongjom anytime during the day, and I can get a Coca-Cola Zero.
Oh, I think about that stuff. Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
So just like the small, little, tiny things. I don't know, and I think part of the reason of your success is it creates a more positive energy around you. And I don't know, maybe some people attribute this to religion. They they have their own dogmas about this positivity. And if you thank God and think God is going to reward you, I think it's the same process. You just think whatever the circumstances are, you be grateful and thankful. And that in and of itself can create this very visceral kind of existence, visceral energy around you that affects other aspects of your life. Because if you're negative and you walk around with negativity, people feel that, and if you walk around with positivity, people feel that as well. So it's really your choice, and you just have to make it an active choice.
Yeah. So I want to make that active choice, and I want to encourage listeners, viewers, like if you're like you're a young guy or girl in your teens, and you feel I don't know, like you're going through a rough time in life, and it feels like time just slows by, and like you feel like you have nothing to offer to the world. Well, you can read a book. You can read Self-Reliance by Ralph Waldo Emerson, by this dead white guy who wrote this awesome, inspiring essay. That the language is a bit archaic. It's not just that it's like chock full of like really good stuff, but also the language is a bit archaic. Like I had to look up the dictionary a lot while reading it.
Syntactically too, it's a little bit tough.
What would you say to people who feel like they're down in their luck, that they feel like life is miserable and like they have nothing to offer the world? What do you want to tell them?
See, this is tough, because there is no one cookie cutter answer for this, right?
I think that's a good answer.
And
that's a good cookie cutter answer. There is no cookie cutter answer.
I want to inspire people. I want to motivate people, but you have to know what their circumstances are. You have to be able to relate to them. And unfortunately, I don't know how relatable I really am, because I've been I'm the first. I'll be the first one to admit I've had very fortunate circumstances. I never had to experience extreme poverty. I've always had self-confidence. So for me to tell somebody, how to live a happy life would be like asking Cristiano Ronaldo, you're saying, okay, how do I play good soccer? Cristiano Ronaldo would just say, just pick the ball and kick it, right?
Just be a god at soccer, mate. Just be awesome.
Just be awesome. So, what I would like to recommend people is just to take time and be just introspective, analyze. The good thing about reading is that it can offer you different perspectives, and that's the one thing that's free in this world is perspective, and you can get it through literature. You can get it through meeting people. You can manipulate perspective, and I think a lot of and happiness at the end of the day is a state of mind. It's not a destination. It's just a state of mind. So perspective helps with your ability to feel what you want to feel, to express what you want to express. So take the time to experience as much as you can, and I think that's the best thing I can say.
I wish someone had told me that when I was 10. Yeah, that's great stuff. So, wow, like it's pretty. I'm just kind of remembering your story. You come to Korea, and then you become a celebrity, and now like from that, it's not like. Do you ever have moments when you're like, I don't know, oh, that was it. Like that was like my 5 minutes of fame, and now it's over. Do you ever have moments like that?
Like sad or depressed kind of moments?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes and no. I'd say yes. I'm conscious of it. I'm conscious that my time is up. But I don't feel as bad as I think entertainment industry portrays it. Maybe because I never really reached ultimate heights, or I never really was completely dependent on my celebrity for survival. That's maybe why I've been able to adjust, stepping outside of the limelight.
How self-reliant of you.
Yeah, right. I've got other things to fall back on, that it hasn't been such a blow. But ultimately, I realize that I do enjoy anonymity. I do enjoy being able to just to walk up to strangers and talk freely. I really do enjoy that. And that's why I think I can't. People tell me to do YouTube, start up a channel, do whatever, do it, you be successful. Honestly, all my YouTube friends, they have to monetize their happiness and they have to monetize their experiences. And I don't think I want to do that.
That's completely appropriate. Yeah.
My time, and my time is very valuable to me, and the way I use it, I don't really want to share it with the rest of the world. It's my time, and I'm selfish in that regard. And even though I could monetize that, I think what would be the end result? That's kind of how I think about it. I would be more financially well off, but that too, financial, monetary gains too, that's an arbitrary threshold as well.
Right.
The more you make, the more you want to make too. So I don't know.
So, what do you, for lack of better words, what's your end goal? Like, what's your next big project or vision that you have, going on for 2020? Well,
I do want to. I'm really excited about this acting. At this acting gig in the sitcom. It's going to be a fantastic experience, and I really want to hit it out of the park. I really want to do a good job on it, and I think what my biggest struggle these days, what I struggle with these days, is kind of reconciling what is my purpose on this earth. What is my talent? What is my potential? What is my purpose? And a long time ago, I read a quote: "There's nothing worse in this world than wasted talent." And I think that's true, because at the end of the day, if I'm later in my years, I realized, that's what I should have done, what I was meant to do, and I didn't do it. That's going to be regretful. So I think this acting gig is going to give me opportunity to see if indeed I am cut out for it. Because you can imagine it as much as you want, but unless you experience it firsthand, is when you can understand it. Because I do think I'm an entertainer. I like being in front of camera. I think I'm good in front of camera, but am I good enough? And am I, is it is it enough to make me happy? Does that, just because I'm good at it doesn't mean that it makes me happy, right?
Right.
So this is just an opportunity. I'm excited to see how this experience plays out.
Cool. So if people want to follow you, like how can they reach you, or,
So I do Instagram.
stalk your exploits?
So I do Instagram. I don't do anything else. I just do Instagram. I have one account that's just basically chronicles me and everyday life, Andreas the Greek. And then I have a fitness content channel, I guess, on Instagram, Andreas the Spartan. So yeah, if you guys want to follow me, send me a message or something. I'd love to hear about it. And yeah, that's it. That's kind of my only social networking presence.
Cool, man. Well, I think that'll wrap it up. Andreas, thank you so much for coming into the office. Happy New Year.
Yeah.
Happy Salat, brother.
Thank you. 새해 복 많이 받으세요.
새해 복 많이 받으세요. Happy New Year to you all. Thank you so much for tuning in today, and God bless.
Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.